Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go over a full review of the newest MCU movie, Captain Marvel. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just going to go ahead and spoil everything. If you don't want to hear spoilers, just, click on out right now and I will not be offended, I promise. But anyways, I'm sure there's going to be a gajillion reviews of Captain Marvel on YouTube. I'm sure there will be some that are spoiler free, so go ahead, watch one of those instead if that's the case. For those of you who are still with me, I'm just gonna say that overall, this was a very good movie, but I will say that it was not my favorite of the Marvel Universe movies. I think I went into it with extremely high expectations that this was just going to revolutionize the whole phases of movies, and it was just really going to be something. And it kind of let me down a little bit. Now, again, this was a fantastic movie, and if you view it for what it is, a superhero origin story, it's really good, and I think it ranks up there with maybe the first Captain America movie, possibly Guardians of the Galaxy. Tonally, it was very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. The music kind of mingling with the storyline, that kind of thing. The humor in it definitely reminded me of Guardians. Now, the period piece of it made me think more of Captain America. I mean, this is deeply rooted in the 90s, and all of you fans out there who are, were teenagers in the 90s or, kids of the 90s, even adults of the 90s, you're going to enjoy this. There was a ton of callbacks to stuff. It wasn't over the top in the sense of it was mocking the 90s or anything, but there is quite a few remnants of that time. And like I said, it doesn't overtake the movie. It doesn't completely take you out of the movie by thinking, oh, well, that's strange. Look, that's definitely from the 90s or something. But it's a major part of it, if that makes any sense. Kind of like the way that the First World War was a major part of Captain America, the First Avenger. Now, just to kind of get into it, there was a lot of twists in this movie, and just to kind of go over some of them, Carol starts out the movie well into her years as a Kree warrior. Basically, the reason she starts to have flashbacks is because she gets abducted by the Skrulls, and they're trying to kind of probe her mind and find out, something that they're looking for, and that starts giving her flashbacks. That's how we kind of see back into her world. She's had a couple of dreams before, but the character played by Jude Law just kind of tells her, not to think about it, to move on. She is who she is. And of course, she doesn't even know that she's Carol Danvers. She just goes by Vers, something like that. That's what they called her because that was the part of the dog tag that they saw. It had her name cut in half, so that's what they called her. So anyways, basically, she ends up stranded on Earth, and Jude Law's character and the rest of the Kree warriors are coming to retrieve her, and she's stuck right in the middle of 1995 in our on our planet. And that's where you have Samuel L. Jackson coming in. You also have Coulson is there, and I have to say, as far as the anti-aging technology that they use, I really thought on Sam Jackson it was pretty flawless. He looks exactly like he did in maybe Jurassic Park. So and being that I've seen him in that movie, it wasn't such a stretch to imagine him looking like that. Now, Coulson, for example, I felt like I saw it a little bit more on him, but I actually watched an episode of Will and Grace with him in it, the other night, which was probably from like 98, and I thought, this is supposed to be 1995, and I thought he pretty much kind of looked the same as he does now in the 98, so kind of making him look even more younger was a little, I don't know. Now, my friend who went with me, she doesn't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She probably really doesn't have much knowledge of who he is. So to her, it it wasn't a big deal. She never really noticed it. But to me, I kind of did a couple times. But it wasn't enough to take me out of the movie. It wasn't enough to take me out of the experience of the movie. So, it is what it is. Now, like I said, the stuff on Sam Jackson looks great. And it was really awesome having him in this movie. I've never been the biggest fan of Nick Fury, but seeing him at this state in his career was really fun. And he and Carol basically are kind of like play off of each other like a buddy cop movie, and I thought that was really good. There's so many comedic scenes in this movie without it being over the top, but at the same time, Carol's just kind of a snarky character, and I really liked that. And she and Brie Larson and Sam Jackson really play well off of each other. I definitely want to see this in the future, in other installments. She definitely has an affection for him, and it was kind of weird to think that even though in this movie they're probably supposed to be pretty close in age at that time. So not that there was ever any sparks between them or anything like that. It was just kind of weird to think about. But anyways, so like I said, she's stranded on Earth. She's trying to find the Skrulls that followed her because the Skrulls are the main enemy. At least that's what she thinks at this point. And the Kree is coming for her. She starts to reconnect with her past. She and Sam Jackson, they infiltrate this hangar where they're trying to find more about this woman that Carol always has flashbacks to, the Supreme Intelligence, which is kind of the ruler of the Kree. It basically turns into who you admire the most, and hers every time is the character of Annette Bening, but she doesn't know how she knows her. And we'll get to that, who she is, later. There was a nice little gender swipe. I don't know how to say it. Gender switch maybe in the character there that Annette Bening was playing, so it was kind of interesting. If you're a fan of the comics and you know the backstory there. But anyways, really to me, the main star of this show was the cat, Goose. I saw a little teaser where they kind of teased at that he was the main star, and he really is. Every scene that Goose was in was hilarious. The Skrulls are terrified of him, and Sam Jackson's just like, but it's a cat, Of course, later on we find out he's not actually just a cat. He is some sort of alien. So that was kind of a neat little twist on it. But anyways, so Carol is trying to reconnect with her past. She goes to find her friend who she has visions of, Maria, and she kind of reconnects there. Now, this is the point where the Skrulls kind of come into the picture, and you think that they're the bad guys, and actually it turns out they're not. They're basically the race that is being persecuted, and Carol's basically been brainwashed to believe that they're the enemy, and they're actually not. They're just trying to find a home. The Kree have basically wanted to rule them, and they fought back, and that started this massive war. And Carol is starting to find out that it's not exactly what it seems. Now then you have the Kree making their appearance on Earth, Jude Law and the Star Warriors, I think the Star Force, I think it was what it was called. But by this point, Carol's realized the error of her ways, so she starts to fight back. She goes back to her flashbacks where she remembers Annette Bening's character, which she thought was someone in the military, Dr. Lawson, who was kind of encouraging to her, kind of a mentor. Basically, women weren't allowed to fly the planes at that point, so she kind of gives her this chance to test pilot, something. So they're in it together. It ends up crashing because they're shot down by a Kree. And that's when you find out that Annette Bening's character, Dr. Lawson, is not actually Dr. Lawson. She is a Kree in disguise. She is Mar-Vell, which, if you've read the comics, was typically a man. The first Captain Marvel was actually Captain Mar-Vell, who was a Kree warrior, and it was a man, and eventually his powers transfer to Carol. Now, in this movie, it plays out a little bit different. They're basically trying to protect this energy device, and Carol shoots it in an effort to distract Jude Law, and the power basically goes into Carol, and that's how she gets her powers. Now, she does, she completely forgets everything, and Jude Law takes her and pretty much brainwashes her at that point. He does inject her with some of his blood, and he pretty much puts a collar on her to some degree. She doesn't know it, but she does have a power dampener on there where he can easily take it away. Now, she eventually finds out that she can take that off, and that's when she really comes into her own and, really starts to kick butt. And it was really good to see her really just wipe the floor with every character. I totally see how she's going to be strong enough to take Thanos down. He really needs to watch out because she is definitely a force to be reckoned with. Now, once she kind of gets the best of the Supreme Intelligence and Jude Law's character, she goes back to Earth and she says goodbye to her friends. She says goodbye to Fury. And because she's decided she's going to help the Skrulls find a home. She is the reason that they will be able to, search for another home planet. She's going to get them there. So with that, she says goodbye to everyone. She gives Nick Fury the pager that we see at the end of Avengers Infinity War, and she does tell him it is for emergencies only. It's got to be big. And of course, by the end of Infinity War, it is big. So that's why he's calling her back. So, and basically that's pretty much kind of how the movie ends, is she's helping the Skrulls find a new home planet. Oh, and another thing, I really should have backtracked on this one, but it turns out that Goose is not actually just a cat. He is some kind of alien, and the Tesseract actually plays a big part in this movie. It was one that Dr. Lawson had, and they find the Tesseract. Jude Law's character is looking for it as well, and the cat basically kind of ends up eating it. It was a really weird scene. That's when you find out the cat's an alien, and it actually kind of made me jump. It was surprising. I don't know. But that's where you find this out. And so the cat has the Tesseract. He basically ingests it, and then the cat ends up with Sam Jackson. And another little thing out there was that Sam Jackson's kind of talking to the cat and, babying it, and the cat scratches him right across the eye. And he's like, oh, it's just a scratch. And the Skrull kind of, Talos, he kind of shakes his head and, it's not just that. And this is actually how he loses his eye. There's a little throwaway line at the end of it where he's being fitted for a new eye, and Coulson says to him something about, is it true that a Kree burnt your eyeball out trying to get, when you were trying to get away and fighting them? And he kind of tells him, that's classified. I can't talk about it. So this is where he gets the scratch across his eye, and that's where his eye went, was the cat scratch. So I thought that was hilarious because it was such a big deal, and you're always wondering what happened to it, but actually it was just a cat scratch. Of course, it wasn't really a cat scratch because he was an alien cat, but that's pretty much what it boils down to. So anyways, at the very end of it, Carol takes off, and then in the first after credits scene, you have a scene that is straight out of Avengers Endgame, and oh my gosh, it was so cool. It was basically just, the remaining Avengers are in probably what looks to be, Avengers Tower, I would say, or maybe the compound. I really couldn't tell, but they're trying to power the pager. And they've basically been trying to do everything they can to figure out where this pager goes. Now, how they found it is beyond me but Natasha does know something about it. She knows it was important to Fury. So, there's that. Although, like I said, I really don't know how they found it in the midst of everything. But they're like, who does this belong to? And then, boom, they turn around, and there's Carol. Her hair's a little bit longer. They've definitely aged her a little bit. Not that she looked older. She just looked more, I don't know, mature, I guess. I think her aging is going to be a slow thing. I don't think they're ever really going to address that. It's kind of like Captain America. It is what it is. But her first line is, "Where is Fury?" And that's how it ends, that part. Now, the second teaser, which we waited through the entire credits for by that point, and I was thinking this better be good. And I'm just going to tell you right now, if the Avengers one is definitely worth it, and I fully believe that's a scene straight out of Endgame. I think we'll see that again. But the very last scene is Goose at some point, and he's on top of Fury's desk, and he has what you think is a hairball. Well, then he kind of vomits up the Tesseract. So this is, at least, is at some point before the first Avengers movie. But that's really all it is. There's not a whole lot to it. So, like I said, that's pretty much your overall view of the movie. The big points that I think you need to hit. The whole movie, as was very enjoyable. It wasn't my favorite, but it was very good. Like I said, I think my expectations were just very high. It was a nice callback to see some older characters. Ronan the Accuser is in it. Another guy from Desmond Hinshu, or however you pronounce his name, from Guardians, he was in it. And like I said, I loved all the characters in this movie. They really formed a very tight-knit unit in a very short time. And I really hope to see them again, or, see where they're at this point. So I would highly recommend it. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to have fun. It's a Marvel movie. And also at the very start of it, in the typical Marvel credits where you see the Marvel characters, it was all pictures of Stan Lee. And I thought that was incredibly moving. And Stan actually has his little cameo appearance, and the music kind of plays a little sadly, and he smiles at Carol. And it's just a very sweet scene. And people in the audience were actually kind of going, oh, people got it. It was kind of emotional, I guess, just seeing that. And it makes me wonder how many more times we're going to be able to see him in the movies. I know he filmed a lot of cameos at one point, but I don't know how many, and I'm really going to miss seeing those whenever, it is done. But like I said, overall, definitely go check out this movie. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to have a good time. Don't go into it thinking it's going to be the best Marvel movie, because it's not. But it's a great origin story. It really introduces Carol, and you're going to see just how formidable she is. And I cannot wait to see her take down Thanos. I can't wait to see her interacting with the other Avengers. And I really think she's definitely the future of the Marvel Universe at this point. So it's going to be very interesting. The special effects were fantastic. It's going to look amazing on 4K when it comes out. All of the bright pops of color, everything. It did it. It really looked great. The music is really good. There's a lot of 90s music in it, and it's very kind of a throwback, so it was really good. But anyways, guys, I'm going to leave this one here. Like I said, go see it this weekend. Support the film. Not that I think it has anything to worry about, because it's a Marvel movie, and it's the first female-led Marvel movie, and therefore it's going to do really well at the box office. But hey, go see it anyways, because you're going to have a good time. Anyways, I'm going to leave this here. You guys have a good one. Enjoy your weekend. So we'll see you in the next one.